Hello everyone and welcome back to Crowley House Flower Farm. Today I'm going to be planting up something for the house. I think it's going to go in the house, but it's a little succulent garden. And as you know, I have a whole little cottage greenhouse full of different types of succulents and some cactuses and some fruiting trees and things that are a little bit more tropical. So the other thing I'm going to be doing is going through that little greenhouse and cleaning it up and getting it ready for this spring and summer when we can pull them out of there and place them around in different areas. Sometimes I put them on the porch and sometimes I put them in little gardens, and last year I put them all through the circle garden and left some of them inside the little cottage greenhouse. So this year is going to be a little different because I do have a rock garden that I am putting together, and that is up at my parents' house, and so I'm going to be actually planting some of these in the ground. So I just want to go through all of them, clean them up. We had that really cold day here on the farm not too long ago. I think it was like 17 degrees, and so even though I had heat and all kinds of things in my little greenhouse, some of them didn't fare too well. So I'm kind of like a little I want me to go in there and close one eye and see how they all fared. But the other thing we're going to do today is check in with my sister Amber. She lives in around Ontario, Canada. I'm not sure exactly her little town. It's pretty remote and very cold climate, but she also has a lot of succulents, a lot of cactus, and different things that she grows there at her house. And she also has a rock garden. So she's going to take us for a little tour even in a cold climate where you can grow these. So I thought it would be just kind of fun to show you, just, you know, we're in a warmer climate, she's in a colder climate, kind of do some comparisons, see how things are going. So we're gonna check in with her, which will be kind of fun. Okay, so first of all, I'm gonna go ahead and tuck myself into the studio, and I'm gonna start on my succulent garden, and then we're gonna head out to the little cottage greenhouse and take a peek at that. We'll see how it fared. So I am not an expert at succulents at all. I inherited a whole bunch of succulents from my grandmother down in California. She had this patio that was just surrounded with them. Beautiful. I think it took her like 2 hours to take care of them every morning. And so when she passed, one of my other sisters who lives in town here with me, younger sister, she ended up taking them, building a greenhouse, putting them in, taking care of them for years. And then her greenhouse deteriorated a little bit, and then they decided to move, and then I inherited them because I had a greenhouse. So it's been a big responsibility to take care of these. But anyways, I kind of fell in love with them. I think everybody does. You know, you always stop and you look at them and you're just like, oh my gosh, those are kind of fun. They're just a fun plant, and they come from all over the world. And you can have some that, you know, are really cold tolerant, and then you have some that are obviously really sensitive and will die, which you will see probably later in my greenhouse, that didn't do so well over the winter. So since we kind of have this blustery day on the farm, I thought I would just take you through me putting together a little succulent garden. I'm not sure if I'm gonna stick it in the house or not, but I found this in Riley's stash. She got it for $3.50 at the antique store. Or actually, I think it was like at a thrift store. Pretty cool. There's no markings on it, but it's really pretty. I like that blue and white. And so when we were at the wholesale market the other day, I passed by this table that was full of all the succulents and different types of cactus and things like that. And I just was like, okay, I need some for the house and I need some for my life. So what I do know about succulents is that they do like a free draining soil. And because this bowl has no hole in the bottom of it, which I could drill a hole in here if I wanted to, but I don't want to. I will just have to watch the soil moisture. And the best way to do that is either with a soil monitor. You can go get these soil moisture monitors. They look like a long stick, almost like you would to check the temperature of the meat. But it will go in and it tells you kind of how the moisture is. And what that would read is further down in the bowl where water might settle, and at the top where it might be a little bit drier. So you could kind of gauge it by that. Now I have a whole bunch of these that I monitor just with my finger. I literally will stick my finger in to see how dry it is. And I've also, the way that you can tell is if, like, say one of these petals here would start to shrivel a little bit, and then that would be the sign that they are starting to need some water. So I don't like to get it to that point. I'm always just kind of checking and making sure. These are pretty dry. You can see it's just kind of fluffing out there. This soil is very, very fine. And there's actually several plants in here. I don't know if you can see that. It's not gonna focus for me. But this one is a very vigorous growing. I forget what it's called, but I do know that these are kind of vigorous growing. So let's talk about soil for a minute. Now I just have my regular potting soil that we use to pot up anything, starts that are a little bit more like we're transplanting up or potting up. This is our soil that we use for that. And then I have just some perlite that I could just add a little bit more perlite to this, and then that would create a little bit more of a kind of a more well-draining soil, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You can also use like a cactus or succulent potting soil. And as I feel this, it feels a little more rocky, like they've added a little bit more grit to it. So you could do either way. So if you just had regular potting soil, I would add just a little bit more grit to it. You can buy this in the store. This I got from the nursery that we bought all these succulents. So I just thought I would see what it looks like and feel it and just kind of make sure that, you know, that's kind of education for me to make sure that I have the right consistency. The other thing I was going to talk about is packing in my succulents. They do really well close together, and that's what makes like a succulent arrangement or bowl like this so attractive. I think that like you can just have all these layers of textures and all kinds of things. Like this little guy here is so soft. It is just, it's so fun. It's almost like rubber bands. Like you're going around here and it's just like fun to play with. But having these different textures and just elements creates this amazing display, and it's very, very eye-catching. So packing in a whole bunch into a little bowl like this, perfect. Packing them into something like this is really fun too. I just brought this just in case I needed it, but I don't think I'm going to. Succulents are also very, very giving because you can propagate these really, really easily. And you know, if you're a new gardener and just starting out, it really gives you self-confidence. So when we head out to the cottage greenhouse, I am actually going to pot up some more. And so I'll kind of give you a look at how we do that and how easy it is. And you're gonna want to try that. Now, different succulents have different cycles. Like when we talk about fertilizing them, some will be fertilized in the winter time and some in the summertime. And so you just kind of have to know a little bit about which succulents are like what. And I'm not really good at that, so I am not one to ask on that one. Succulents are absolutely stunning. They do flower, and I love, like, especially this time of year, I think I have a lot of like winter blooming ones. I'll go out to the little cottage greenhouse and I'll just walk in, you know, to water or something like that, and there's one blooming, and it's just, just takes your breath away, you know, just beautiful. It's a really nice sight during the winter time to see something like that. Okay, so I'm gonna get potting up. I think that was all my things about succulents. Fertilizer, you'll want to look for something that is a cactus fertilizer or something along the lines of succulent cactus. You can use something like that. I've often used just like fish emulsion, and I just do it really diluted, and that's kind of my go-to staple here on the farm, and I have it. So, you know, it's something that I use. So what I have learned over the years is that some of the succulents that we grow, especially the type that look like this, the aeoniums, I think is what they're called. They definitely like morning hot sun, and then they like dapple shade or shade in the afternoon. So the succulent garden that I'm planting up at my parents' house this year, which we will take you along as I do that because it's gonna be really pretty. My mom always played with it, and it was, you know, it's in disrepair right now. So we're gonna have to do a little bit of work, some soil conditioning and that kind of thing, but there's a lot going on in it that's beautiful already. So I really want to make something stunning. And so we're gonna take some of these plants and divide them and add to them, and they just do amazing. So something like this will do really well with that morning sun, afternoon shade, and they get huge. You wouldn't believe, sometimes I'll take a little one like this and they will get, you know, 2 feet or even bigger for me in one season. Like, it's crazy. They love it here. Okay, so let's get this potted up. So I use a little paintbrush just to kind of get some of these, you know, this one especially has kind of that cupped little bit of leaf. And so trying to get some of that out is really nice to just use a little paintbrush to kind of get in there and get some of that out. It'll eventually go away when you're watering and that kind of thing, but this is just really helpful to have a little paintbrush handy. I think this turned out cute. I didn't really like how this one looked in it just because it just took up too much space. So I'm gonna pop it into this little container, which is a vase that we use a lot for weddings, but it had a little crack in it. So I'm just gonna pop that up. Now I love how clean and simple this one turned out. It is just something that will stand alone somewhere. I'm gonna tuck it in the house. A lot of these do best with south-facing windows, but I find that if I rotate them around enough, they'll do great. I think even grouping these two together would be really pretty on the table or somewhere. I don't know. I've gotta go find a place for them, and I think this is just gonna be the right touch for the house. They might be separated. I haven't decided yet, but we'll go take a peek together here in just a few minutes. So I've got a few supplies with me. I'm gonna run out to the cottage greenhouse and see how that looks. And we're gonna run because it is raining and windy and cold. I have to tell you, it's not looking so great, but I think I can clean it up. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a little bit of before and after and show you a little of what happened here. Okay, so you can see we had quite a bit of damage right here, and some of these are not looking so hot, but they're gonna be fine. I mean, even though we had heat in here and everything, I think it just got so cold. We had frost blankets on them, everything. They're just looking like they need some loving. So I'm gonna get in here and start cleaning them up and see what we can salvage and what we can do. Look how pretty this one is. It just needs a little loving. I have had this happen before, and it's kind of discouraging. You see stuff and you're just like, oh, I'm not sure how this is all gonna work out in the end, but in the end, they look fantastic come summertime. So, kind of neglected them, it's my own fault. See, this is what I'm talking about. When they're a little bit dry, they look a little shrivelly. That's what we're talking about. So I need to water this one. To be a way bigger job than I thought it was going to be. So why don't we take a break and we're gonna check in with my sister and all of her succulents at her Canadian home, where it's very much colder than here. But anyways, let's check in with her and see how she's doing and what her gardens or succulent gardens, cactuses look like. And then we'll come back and see how far I've gotten. This might be a 2-day job, holy cow.
Good afternoon, it's Amber here, Beth of FARMHOUSE's sister, and I live at Riverwood Gardens in Ontario, Canada. And Beth called me this morning and said, would you mind just having, one of the kids film you a bit and show some of the succulents and plants that I have in our plant room here. As you know, Canada, where we live, is very cold. Actually, this winter we've had kind of a mild winter, but we wanted to show how easy it is to grow succulents and those type of plants in your space, at home, in your garden, and to show you some of the history, because our family has always loved these type of plants. And like here, for instance, we have this, it's not a succulent actually, it's a cactus, and it's from my mother's garden in Texas. So I got a little piece of it, and I've just laid it in this dirt and gravel, and you can see how it's growing with other succulents, other cactus, some rocks, some seashells, a bit of like this twig sphere right here is really kind of fun in this vintage box. Back here, there's a burro's tail, which is a type of succulent. They're lovely, they're interesting. They shed everywhere, just giving you a little heads up, but I do love it, the way it looks and drapes everywhere. Yes, so we are also going to go outside, believe it or not. We have a flash freeze warning right now where we live, but I will show you where I grow succulents. They overwinter covered in snow and they do amazing, and they come back every spring and thrive all summer, and they bloom and look absolutely amazing. So we'll take you on a little tour. I'll also show you the mama plant to this big cactus here that is growing in our entryway. It comes in during the winter months and then heads outside in the summer months. So we're outside. It's a windy day. The weather's changing. It's getting colder again. It's also rush hour on our country roads, so there's lots of cars driving by, so I hope you can hear me. But as you can see here, this is my succulent in patch, and it comes back after being, minus 10, minus 20, covered in 2 feet of snow, and every summer and spring and fall it thrives. It looks a bit like an outdoor quilt, that's what I say, like out of plants. It blooms, there's so much color here, there's so much interesting texture with all the different succulents, Forbia, there's all sorts of different types of sedum, a bit of grass. I also put in a bit of yarrow and things that do well in this full sun area. People see it right when they pull in the driveway. It looks really nice. So I hope that inspires you to plant plants that you think won't do so well in outdoor spaces, and go for it, because if it can thrive here in cold Ontario, I am very sure and confident that it can thrive in your garden as well. So as you can see, we're in the entryway of our little country home, and this here is the mother plant that I was talking to you about that came from my grandmother's garden in southern Texas. And all of these little pieces here, they can be removed and just placed into like sandy, gravelly soil, and they will start just like that. It's a very forgiving type of cactus. So I kind of lump cactuses in with the succulents and all of those type plants, because they give you kind of that same look and feel in a garden. And also this has very much sentimental value because of the connection to our mother's mom. She was very dear to all of us, and it's so cool that we've been able to keep this plant and other plants from my other grandmother's collection in Southern California alive and thriving long after they're gone. And they also passed on the love of plants to all of us. So that is something that I know Crawley House shares with all of you so wonderfully and generously. And I hope that you will take what you've learned today and grow some yourself. So thank you for visiting us here at Riverwood Gardens in Ontario. Take care.
Hello, and welcome back to Braden's Fun Facts. Did you know that cacti make up more than 1,300 species of succulents? All cacti are succulents, but not all succulents are cacti. Succulents are prehistoric, around 5 to 10 million years old, to be exact. Not to be exact, we don't know. Long dry spells and lower levels of carbon provided a habitable home for succulents to grow in. Succulents are for the most part pest resilient, but occasionally you might find aphids.
Okay, so that took way longer than I thought it would. I don't know what I was thinking, but I think I got a good dent in it. It's not completely done. This is all the time I had for today, but I am pleased with how everything is looking, but also kind of like, things aren't so great. So I would say that it would be mediocre, middle of the road. But after cleaning it up, I think it looks way better and much more hopeful than what I thought it was going to be. I thought we were going to lose tons of things. Now I do have just a big pot of things that came off or I pulled off during the cleanup. And so I'm going to take it back into the studio because the storm is just like violent out and it's cold actually in here. So I'm going to run into the studio where I have a little heater and get these propagated up really fast before lunch. Okay, so I'm back in the studio and I have just some little containers that I've gathered. Some of these were left over from the original planting that we got from the market. So I just thought, I'm just gonna refill these. They're nice and clean. So I have my soil, gotta get it open. So this is the soil that I got from the wholesaler, the cactus grower, the succulent cactus grower. It's really coarse. It's got a lot of grit in it, which is kind of nice to just feel what they would probably grow in. So I'm just gonna fill up these little containers. So here's my pile of all kinds of things that I pulled off when I was cleaning up all the succulents out in the cottage greenhouse. But there's some really good stuff in here, and so I thought I would just go through it and pick out some of the best things and clean them up and get them planted. I was just gonna show you kind of what I do because it's really just not that, hard to do at all. Isn't that cool? So many fun things. Okay, so here we go. So basically, you can take something like a clean cut on one of these, which some of these look great and others don't, and literally lay it on top of the soil surface here, and it will eventually start to get new sprouts. What you have to do is make sure you get like literally a clean break, not something that's been sheared. This one's just not very good because it's all shriveled up and not a very good specimen. So what you're looking for is something nice and plump and literally pull out, you hear a snap, and you can lay them right on the side. The other way that people do it sometimes is by just literally snapping it or cutting it. And you'll want to let that harden a little bit, kind of create a callus. You'll stick it straight into the soil just like that, and it will just start to grow from there, which is really nice. So I'm just gonna go through all of my little starts and see which ones I want to create something with and get them potted up. These have been sitting for a while, so I'm able to go ahead and clean them up and get them in the soil here. And this should start rooting really nicely here in a couple of weeks. This is a hen and chick, and I didn't show you guys this one, but they're just so easy to grow. You can just literally, they just keep making babies and more babies and more babies, and pretty soon you're like throwing them away. You can see this one has a little bit of root showing. So I'm gonna cut that in half and have two other little plants. So that is really all that is to the succulent propagation thing. It's pretty easy. I mean, some of these probably won't take, but a lot of them will. So now all I have to do is get them watered in and then set them in a location where they're gonna get some damp light, and we'll just kind of watch and see how they take off. But isn't that fun? So many new baby starts just from cleaning up the little cottage greenhouse, and look at all these treasures I get to potentially have new plants with. So kind of fun. Well, that was a really fun project, and it was fun to see my sister Amber's house and all of her amazing succulent and that indoor garden. Oh my God. She has those beautiful windows that overlook her yard and beautiful gardens that she's got going there. I believe south-facing windows, so just that light comes filtering in on those beautiful plants. I can only imagine. I know she's got really, really short summers. They kind of skip spring and they go from winter to summer kind of thing. And so it's really nice for her to have that little oasis that she gets to enjoy every day when it's that cold. So anyways, it was kind of fun having her on the show today. I was gonna show you guys I smuggled it back to the United States, but my grandma, that cactus that my sister was showing you, that big one that's in her entryway, I have 2 little baby starts that I smuggled back from her house back here, and they finally rooted and are going on strong. They're nothing near what she's got going, but we can have ours outside here, and we just bring them in sheltered in the wintertime so that they don't freeze. But anyways, it was just kind of fun. It's so fun to share plants, isn't it? Okay, well, until next time, much success in all you do and grow, and we'll be seeing you shortly back here at Crowley House very soon. Bye-bye.